Welcome back. We're picking up on slide 17 now, and this slide is crucial. You want to spend quite a lot of time with this particular anatomy. This is like the artist's rendition of the slide we just saw before with the cadaver. And you specifically want to focus on this left side of the screen, you want to focus on nasopharynx, uvula, oropharynx, laryngopharynx, vocal fold, and esophagus. And over here on this right side, frontal sinus, and then these three concha, superior concha, middle, and inferior concha, hard and soft palate, epiglottis, and then note the thyroid area in here. You will see the cricoid cartilage, thyroid cartilage, and laryngeal cartilages, and trachea. So that's what you're focusing on most. It's not unusual to see a diagram like this on your test, for example. When you look at the structure of the throat, note how close the trachea here sits next to the esophagus. And we saw a video during lecture where the trachea has cartilage rings, and we showed an intubation, and we shone a blade and a light down into the canal of the throat, and we could see this passageway right here, and the epiglottis swings over, so when food goes by it closes off the trachea so that food doesn't go down the trachea. And you may remember that the epiglottis is one of two structures in the body that's actually made out of elastic cartilage. Can you remember where the other elastic cartilage is? If you said ear, pinna, you're correct. So the food then would take its journey down this way to the stomach, and the airway is this way, and the air travels through the laryngeal area over the vocal folds, and that's what gives you your ability to speak when air strikes those chords right there. Another significant structure to look at right here is your uvula. You can see it when you open your mouth and you say, ah, it's sticking down the center. Do you know what that does? If you said gag reflex, you'd be correct. So just make note of those structures that we mentioned and kind of study the inside of this pharynx. Remember that behind your nose is your nasopharynx, behind the mouth is the oropharynx, and behind the larynx is the laryngopharynx in those areas. So that's about 6 to 8 inches long on that pharynx right there. We're coming into part 2 of lecture now, and this has basically 4 learning objectives, and these are what we're going to focus on the back half of our lecture. So when we look at the pharynx, you'll notice that this is all throat right here, so that's all the pharynx, and you'll see behind the nasopharynx, oro, and laryngopharynx. And sometimes when they have like a sore throat, they'll write you a diagnosis code of oropharyngitis. So that might be like strep throat, or if you have nasopharyngitis, then you'd have like burning in the roof of your mouth from a sinus infection. And if you have laryngitis, then you have inflammation of the throat here behind the larynx. And so these 3 regions are divided up, and each one serves as either a passageway for air or a passageway for food. So of these 3, can you guess which one is the passageway for food? It would be oropharynx. Good. And obviously food is not intended for your nose or your larynx. So now we're looking at the trachea, and you may notice I put a huge number 3 on the screen, and that's to kind of prompt you that there's 3 things I want you to think of, and there's 3 layers of the trachea. There's the mucosa, the submucosa, and the adventitia. And the adventitia is the outermost layer. It's made of the C-shaped rings of hyaline cartilage. And the submucosa is the deep tissue inside the innermost mucosa layer. And then in the innermost layer, you're going to see goblet cells and ciliated epithelium. You may remember that from chapter 4 when we studied goblet cells with cilia. And the purpose of the cilia is to strictly move a product, and that product is mucus in this particular case. It's very advantageous because if you breathe in bacteria all day, then the little hairs in the trachea will sweep the bacteria up toward the back of your throat. This especially happens at night when you're asleep, and you wake up in the morning and ta-da, you have a gift. A little ball of mucus at the back of your throat every morning. That's your gift, and hopefully it's bad bacteria that you're going to clear your throat and get out or cough up.